Hey guys, welcome back. We are going to answer all of your questions on how to wrap up your SPED year. Not the way some of you are wanting to wrap it up. Remember that you don't look good in orange, so let's not use that option. If we haven't met, I'm Karen Mayer Cunningham, Special Education Boss, helping everyone who sits at the Iep 504 table navigate and negotiate successful student outcomes. We are knocking on the end of the year, aren't we? It's like that knocking sound. So make sure that you are preparing for the end of the year. We have a teacher coming on soon, and we're going to do the teacher IEP wrap up. We're going to start with her, the great Bonnie. Let's see. Am I doing this right? I just feel like, you know what? There it is. Is it happening? I think it's happening. Okay, Bonnie, you're tiny. Are you live right now?
I am not.
Okay, so if you go live, because obviously we want to be equals, then we will split the screen. Otherwise, you're just a little stamp in the bottom.
Okay,
so
perfect.
If you go live and then ask me to live with you, then we will live together. Not lie, but live. We have a teacher coming on, like teachers that are really smart. God bless all the teachers. I know at this point in the year, you're like, what could I do? Could I go back to being a swimwear model? I think those days have passed for all of us. So we're going to talk about what we're going to do to wrap up the school year if you're a special education teacher, general education teacher, so that we got it all together. And then I'm going to tell you what I would do, what I do with my clients and my teams and my advocates that I wrap up the end of their year. I think it's kind of interesting that people on TikTok, and if you're one of those people, just pretend I didn't say this, people say that it's IEP season. It's IEP season all year round. So I have a lot of clients that at this point in the year we file, right? We are filing with the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights. We're filing state written complaints. We're filing mediations. We're filing due process because kind of let things go on to the end. Is that good? We let things go on to the end of the year. And so we don't want things to go to the end of the year, but this is actually obviously a very natural stopping point. But we want to talk about what that looks like. We want to welcome Bonnie. She's one of our amazing advocates and amazing teachers, and she's ridiculously smart. If you are not good at making TikToks, but you just want to steal somebody's, Bonnie, steal her stuff. She's young, so she knows how to put that music on. Like, I don't know how to do the but you know what? I do know how to put my brows on at 7 o'clock at night on a Sunday. So these young kids, they know about the TikTok in a way that I don't know. So I'm going to let Bonnie start first because she is a ridiculously amazing fantastico, and that is how you say it in Mexico, fantastico, special education teacher. Bonnie, which I always think is hysterical. Tell us how you first met me or saw me, or was it when I was a swimwear model, or was it after that?
It was probably after that.
It's like a little bit.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We hear you.
Perfect. I actually saw you on the TAVAC conference. You were the keynote speaker the COVID year. Like, they couldn't have it in person, so they had you.
And tell them what TAVAC is. Is that like the National Association of Air Conditioning People?
No, that's the Transition Association for, I guess they're just in Texas, but they're the transition people, vocational skills for after high school. And that's all I've ever taught. And I always enjoy going to their conference. It's always in the summer, so I can actually attend. But that's where I initially saw you. It wasn't actually on the TikTok, but
it was before I knew about the TikTok. I think the TikTok was alive, but it was when the sun goes. It was all that. So and Bonnie and I were talking, and I was like, oh, so that was the beginning of the COVID. And then also the beginning of, Mama had to find out what an Ethernet cord was. I didn't know. So I'm very demonstrative, and I'm doing my presentation. Well, first of all, I was late. I was like the presenter's like texting me. She's like, "Are you ready?" I'm like, "I am." She's like, "We're all on." Oh, like now? Okay. So we get on. Everything's going great. And I'm doing my presentation, and I talk like I do this. And I said something about The law says, child find. I don't know if we're actually doing that anymore, but the law says that we go out. When I say we, you mean the local education agency, the Department of Education, or state education agency, and we identify, locate, and educate, evaluate children with disabilities. And I said, so do you ever see anybody in your neighborhood like knocking on doors? And I knocked on my desk, which was a mistake because I had a Cocker Spaniel and a Shih Tzu who had been saving me from the Amazon man every day. And I was the only one home. And so they were just losing their minds. And I was just like, literally the state conference, I'm the keynote. I'm like, can you guys hang on 1 second? And I'm like, I'm back. So, I think what that lends to us is people honor expertise, and they honor authenticity. Yeah, when people are authentic, right? And so we all know that the dogs are in the house. And so when I met Bonnie again, was it December of 2021?
Yes, this past December when
Okay.
I took your 2-day intensive.
Okay. And were you on the academy before that, or you were?
No.
Okay. And so you just were like scrolling the TikTok or the Facebook or the Gram. How did you find out about that?
I think it was on the Facebook because I used to do Facebook quite a bit, and now that's like back burner to TikTok. I don't know. I guess they just kind of whatever. But yeah, no, I think I was scrolling through there, and I was just like, oh, it's something I can do over Christmas break that I need PD time and hours, and
yeah.
So
okay.
That's how.
And so you got there. Bonnie's very well behaved. She was in the back and quiet, something I've never suffered from. But you're a special education teacher, so why would you come to special education advocate training?
It was just it said day one was how to advocate for a student, and I think as a special ed teacher, we all do a good job of that. But I had no idea the life outside of the school,
right,
or the school side of it. I had no idea that an advocate existed. I'd never been in a meeting with one, so I guess that tells you there's not that many out there. I've never been in an IEP meeting.
Have you been in over 10 IEP meetings?
I've been in hundreds, probably.
Never?
Never, not once. I did not know an advocate existed. So that
okay. And so you got to the class, and did you find value in it?
Yes. I started my career in education in 2012 when I had my son, and I learned more in 2 days than I did in 10 years.
So I think people are surprised to hear that. As a parent that had a child with disability, I just assumed, because I'm an assumer, that if my kid's teacher was teaching art, that they had a teaching degree and they had some art specialty, right? Or at least continuing ed hours. Mm-hmm. And I really thought everybody that was in special ed, like a special education teacher, I thought they got a degree in special education teaching or something, right? But I found out from all of the amazing teachers that's actually not true at all. Is that correct?
That is correct. My bachelor's is in biomedical sciences. I wanted to be a dentist. And life took me in a way different direction. And then when I taught for about 5 years, and then I went back to get my master's in science education. And I think around the same time I got my special ed certification. But no, I don't have any other training than the training I sought out. I mean, the district never sat me down and was like, here's your special ed training.
Right. So in Texas, and maybe different everywhere else, so you take this special education certification test, right? Mm-hmm. And how long is a test? Like 500 questions? Is it 6 questions?
I think it's like 120.
Okay. And were they crazy hard questions? Like, what is the case law in Pennsylvania?
No, not at all. No. I don't remember any of the questions, honestly, on it. I don't remember a single one.
Okay. But none of the questions gave you the amount of training that you had in the intensive?
No, never. Not at all. I remember buying an Amazon book for like $40 and studying for like a month before the test, taking it and passing it, and congratulations, you can teach special ed now. So.
Right. And so for special education continuing ed hours, as somebody that does professional development for teachers in all of the states, what are the special education continuing ed hour requirements in Texas?
We don't have them. We don't have them.
No, I'm sure you have them. So is it like 30, 90? Zero? So you just get to pick whatever continuing ed hours you want, right?
Correct. I think it's like 100 every 5 years, but then even then they don't make you show it. Like you just check the box that yes, I promise you I did my
It
100
happens.
hours.
I
It's
feel like
your
it
new
happens.
certificate.
It happens.
Yeah,
Right.
your
And
new
so
5 years.
I know as a parent, there's lots of, teacher in-service days. So when you're a teacher, what are they in-servicing you in those days? They're getting you Chick-fil-A, and then what's happening? We want to know.
Nothing important to my job relevant? No.
What do they
Nothing.
teach y'all? What are you in-servicing?
T-testing and curriculum writing, but not really as a SPED person with the gen ed team. We just kind of, you can meet if you want, but we don't really, there's no formal, you have to do this as a special ed
Wow.
teacher.
That is fantastic. Wow. No wonder I know a little bit more. So the Special Education Federal Code with 300 and something pages has now been reduced to 115. I'm sure at some point you were required to read that, correct?
No,
No?
ma'am.
You had a training on how to collect IEP goal data.
No, ma'am.
You had a training from the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights that it's a requirement to collect data and accommodations for 504 IEPs.
No, ma'am. I actually learned that from you in December, and I've been a teacher for 10 years.
Okay. So
No.
so what are you going to be doing now? What's happening next year when you go back to school?
I don't know. I'm probably gonna be an advocate like you and not go back to school.
Right. And why is that?
Because you're so much more effective when you can talk from the outside in and no one's hushing you and no one's saying, well, we don't do that like that here. We can't do that here. We can't, that's not what we do here. We've done it like this for 5,000 years in this district. So
there's that, right? So as a teacher, so you're a teacher, how do you, and I'm going to do the second half of this. So, how do you wrap up, the name of this is, wrapping up loose ends. So as a teacher, you have a team. How do you wrap up loose ends? We talked about IEP season, as you and I both know. An IEP happens any time of the year because it all depends on when you obviously started special education. But obviously it's sort of like this little funnel thing at the end of the year. Like last week, I'm like, did every IEP meeting get rescheduled? Like, can we not just finish something? It's like I wasn't on this many dates before I got married to all my husbands. Like, can we not just wrap it up? So kind of tell me as a teacher, to all the other teachers, the paraprofessionals, how would you recommend, what are some tips that you use for wrapping up your kiddos' files, their needs, and making sure that everything's in place?
Well, I review them. I think at my campus, I'm not in charge of 120-ish. I have like 30 or so on my caseload. But we'll look and make sure that the schedule of services that we put in place is what we have in our other system, looking at their schedules to make sure that's there. Progress reporting on the final report card, looking at data from the teachers, whatever they have, as far as grading the goals for one last time to send home to parents. Graduation arts, it's kind of graduation arts season right now at my campus. So a lot of kids that are graduating and going on with Texas workforce or employment or their next steps. I kind of help get that paperwork to whoever needs it.
Okay.
I have 3 or 4 of those next week coming up where they're moving on to bigger and better things.
And ESY, extended school year?
We don't do that in my district.
I'm sorry, what?
We don't do that.
You don't do?
I think maybe they do, but they don't really. I haven't sat in an ARD this year, and I've been to probably 120 something so far. We do all the annuals. I go to all the annuals.
Are your kids all 21? Is that why you don't do ESY?
No.
Have you heard of ESY?
I have.
Do you know what it is?
Don't ever recommend it at the school.
So the school never recommends it. Yeah, how important would that be? Extended school year services for students who have documented regression on IEP goals with a profound amount of time to recoup them, or the second prong that we never talk about, concern for loss of critical skills. So what type of population do you teach without, FERPA violations?
I don't teach. I'm not currently teacher of record for anybody. I'm the IEP facilitator person. I did teach life skills science since that's my background. But yeah, I'm not teacher of record right now.
Okay, and so, but then all the ARD meetings, and of course, you guys that aren't in Texas, that's IEP. We have to be different. Are they from kindergarten to 22? What are the age
No,
ranges?
I'm just a high school. I'm at the high school, so I'm only 9 through 12. I do sit in on the 8th grade ARDs. That way we kind of know what to expect for the next school year. And I kind of make sure they don't put in anything that is too crazy.
So then
So,
nobody from 8th grade to 11th grade needs ESY, right? You must have an amazing district and fantastic children. Okay, so
before I go over that,
when you close out the
we
year, is there like a risk? Do you follow up with parents with anything? I know that you mentioned Texas Workforce Solutions, which is great. You guys, if you're in Texas and you have a kiddo that's over 12, I want you to drive to your Texas Workforce Solution office. Do not email, do not make a phone call, do not pass go, and show up with your cherub and say, hey, I'm here with Sally. We would like a full vocational intake. Somebody write that in the chat. I would like a full vocational intake in the summer from Texas Workforce Solutions. Your kiddo can get services and camps and internships. It's fantastic. So that's great that you guys, get them to that service. Any other services you recommend for kiddos?
Well, we're rural. Like we aren't really close to a big city, so they're our main go-to for after high school. We do have a couple places in our city that like agree to hire our kids who are. If we have like a work-based learning program from 9 through 12 that they agree to employ them after high school, but we don't have any other real. I said we're so rural, not many people come out to.
Now, does your city have electricity?
They do.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know if you're like, we have some cities in Texas that electricity hasn't got there yet. That way they don't know about the federal law. So if you had something to share with, I am not, in case I don't have credentials. I've ordered some on Amazon. It seems to be a delay. I am not a certified teacher. I certainly don't have a neurobiological kryptonite thing that you have. I think that we talked at a meeting before, and some other teachers. Yes, it's a full vocational intake. That's good. A full vocational intake. I think that either you or some other teachers, probably 2/3 of the people in the academy and the training are school-based members, which is an honor, and we're thankful for that. But I was stunned when I heard you guys say that you're a teacher, you go back and spend a gazillion dollars and get your master's, and your pay goes up $1,000 for the year. It's surely that's not. It's like $1,000 a week, right? A month,
correct. A year.
a whole year. What would one do with all that money? So you have to invest.
We don't know because it all gets taken out in taxes. So we don't know. We don't really get it.
That is fantastic. So, that poor lady is getting crucified for her school district. She's not getting crucified for her school district. There's no crucifix. Am I crucifying you for your school district? No. These are most school districts in America. We are not teaching our teachers about federal or state law. We're not training them in 504. I promise you, there's no 504 training because that would be from the U.S. Department of Office of Civil Rights. There is no accommodations training. There's no IEP training. We just there's a class that I took at Region 4 in Texas, standards-based IEP training. It was $700 and 16 hours long. Think not teachers taking that. So what we're identifying is that teachers of record, IEP facilitators aren't supported with the education that they need. So they're going out and getting it on their own. And that's great if you have that disposable income, but that's a commitment. So what would you tell teachers who are frustrated with their setting, paraprofessionals who we love, service delivery operators, deliver operators like you have machinery? What would you tell them about joining the academy, which is the weekly training that we have, or the 2-day intensives?
It's priceless to career advancement and to your knowledge bank, your knowledge set. I mean, the district's not going to train you. Like, let's get real. I've worked for 3 different districts and they've never trained me. Everything that I've learned about special ed, I had to go seek out. I had to look up the region center conferences and attend those and ask for approval to even go to those. And sometimes they were denied if it's on, whatever, star prep week or something. You can't, can't go. So sign up for the academy for sure. That's the
And so
the
can you tell people
go-to.
about the Weekly Academy? We're like this little powerful posse of adults. Well, I don't know if we're all adults. I can't confirm that I am one. But kind of tell people what that weekly coaching call looks like. Obviously, I'm not just going, go, go, go. Kind of tell them what happens weekly.
No, there's a in-depth topic every week of something right now in procedural safeguards, and it's step by step the law, based around the law. And so it's an in-depth look at it, and then you're available for Q&A afterwards, which is awesome. If you have a burning special ed question, you're available once a week to answer it, and they're a lot of fun. I have not sat on one yet where I haven't been like, oh my gosh, I just learned something new. So you learn something new every Monday, every single Monday.
But I mean, so we started that a year ago. What about the past classes that were on the Academy?
I've looked at there's workbooks on there, so they kind of guide you through the call, and they're all stored on there, and they don't go anywhere, and you can take them at your own pace. And some days I don't have a lot going on at work, so I start looking at Special Education Academy and taking notes, and so it's all still there. It's all saved, and you can go back.
And so as it relates to, I always say on my trainings, if you really committed, and I absolutely believe this 100%, I say this in my trainings, don't do this. Don't do what I say, just do what I do. I said, if you posted right now on the faceplates or the grams or the, I don't know, AOL, people still have AOL, and said, I am a mediocre special education advocate, it just comes, right? Because just as desperate as school-based members are for information that's valid, right? Information that's applicable, not just don't make eye contact with people at the meeting. What? Like real information. Do you think it's feasible that anybody with a true interest in wanting to be an advocate couldn't be full-time in 90 days?
Absolutely possible. Absolutely. After I took your training in December, I came back, and just sitting like at my neighbor's pool, her and like two other people there have special ed kids and are on IEPs, and they were asking me questions, and I was like, and they were like, oh my God, Bonnie, what? Yeah, this stuff's true. So anybody can be an advocate.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody said, give your teachers a ton of love right now. Give everybody at the school district a ton of love, like in the most, legal way. We don't want to see you on the news. No, we love teachers. All of us that are in special education usually are here because we had a relative. It's what we did for a vocation. We had a child. So we love teachers. We think that teachers should be paid an appropriate wage. We think that teachers should be supported. We don't think teachers should have to be afraid of their bosses or their students. We think that there's plenty of money to go around, and we think that we need to relook at how we divvy up the pie, period, for teachers, general ed teachers, special education teachers, all teachers that serve kiddos. So we love teachers. I know that change is coming. There's this mass exodus. Yes, paraprofessionals can be special education advocates. There's no requirement. Now, I don't have a teaching certificate. I don't have a degree from a college. I do have a Sam's card though, and I can get toilet paper early. So there's no requirement. Can you go take special education certifications and then you're certified? You could have a degree to be a neurosurgeon. You could be a neurosurgeon and not be good at it, right? So, but there's no requirement for being an advocate. So don't think, oh, I've got to have a teaching certificate or any of that. You have to love children and want to do what's right by the team, right? I don't advocate for schools. I don't advocate for parents. I only advocate for children with disabilities between the ages of 3 and 22. And so, somebody said demand training in the district. Can you demand training in your district? How would that go, Bonnie? No, because the districts are scheduled and COVID, but I do know that change is coming because there has to be a response to this. I call it the blessing of COVID and the curse of COVID, right? The blessing of COVID, it was we just ripped off the bandage, right? And we got to see that teachers weren't supported. We got to see that teachers were using implements and instruments and products in their class that they paid for, right? That because nobody else is paying for them. Mm-hmm. So we think that we can reallocate our money at the federal and state level in a way that's appropriate to serve teachers because like they're raising your kid, kind of a big deal, right? I mean, I love children from a distance. Like when my kids graduate, I'm there for a photo op, but I wasn't the mother that was like, oh, I'd like to have 72 kids at my house. So for some reason, teachers love your kids enough to serve them all year. And we believe that change is coming in a good way for them. And I think that the And there are persons in education that are in there for the wrong reason. There's persons in every industry that are in there for the wrong reason. And so we want the amazing teachers, which are most of them, to be supported. If you want to wear jeans on your head, your arm, and your legs every day, you should be able to do that. I'm pretty sure, like, if you were dying and I saved your life on the side of the road, you wouldn't go, I'm sorry, are you wearing jeans? Ugh, like, come on. So we need to serve teachers and do it correctly. So anyway, we're so thankful that you hopped on, Bonnie. If you guys, again, follow Bonnie at whatever her thing is, Bonnie _ Hottie or whatever it says, but you guys follow her. She's really book smart, and she's a little sassy too. She's book smart and sassy. We love her. So we will see you tomorrow night, Bonnie, on the Academy. So thanks for jumping on. So you guys, I just wanted to kind of do the loose ends as it relates to an advocate, or if you're a parent. I want you guys to know that it's your responsibility to wrap up your year, right? So as an advocate, I'm going through my files. I'm making sure that parents have completed what their expectations were for the year, and those change, right? So, there are a lot of parents that are missing many components, and they don't understand that, we did all this fighting for the 504, the IEP, and then what the next steps are. And often parents are waiting for the school to do that for them. It's not the school's job to do that for you. It's your job to do that for yourself. So let's talk about some really major points that I want you guys to go deep dive, go back to your documentation, whether you're a parent, whether you're a parent advocate, you're a school-based member, if there is a need. So let's start with number one, evaluation. So for parents, are you waiting for that evaluation? I don't know what you're waiting for. If you're waiting for the school, raise your hand. If you're waiting for the school to come knock on your door, there's no need to wait for that. You know who might knock on your door? Amazon, FedEx. The school's not going to knock on your door. It doesn't happen. So here's what you need to do. If you are wanting testing, if you suspect that something's wrong, if something's just off, get the testing. It's very simple. Here's your email. Dear staff, this is my formal request for Billy Smith to have special education testing. Areas of suspected disability are attention, learning, and communication issues. Write that down. Attention, learning, and communication issues. I look forward to coming in and signing notice and consent. I don't know what you guys are waiting for. Here's what we don't get back time. You're not going to get back time. I don't know what you're waiting for. You're like, well, I'm just going to keep an eye on it. Nobody's keeping an eye on it. That is baloney sauce. Nobody's keeping an eye on your kid's education. You have to do that, right? So make sure that you have appropriate evaluations. Once you're in special education, make sure that you have updated evaluations, right? So when we do evaluations, once a child's already in special education, let me clear something up. I don't know who told you that it's a vote. It's not a vote. There's no voting. Legally, and you can find the case law, once a child is in special education, once a child is already in special education, then if the parent asks for testing that hasn't been done in the last calendar year or testing that's never been done, it's granted. We're not voting. We're not asking for the school-based member's opinion or their feelings. Feelings have no place in an IEP meeting. Write that down. Your feelings have no place in an IEP meeting. Your feelings have no place in a PLAF. Your feelings have no place in decision-making. We go based on one thing, data. We teach on data. We train on data. We make decisions based on data. Any other thing is not acceptable. It's just data. And you either have the data to support your decisions or it is your opinion. You either have the data to support your decisions or it's your opinion. I don't want your opinion as it relates, whether it's the parent, the advocate, a school-based member, as it relates to a child with disabilities, because you know what? You're impacting their future. Kind of take that personally. Not offended, but it's offensive, right? And so let's not do things that are offensive. And so parents, when you get that, get out your document. Get your document out tonight because it's, 20 days till we roll out again, right? And the whole year went by. I want you to get your document. I want you to look at this. When are the evaluations due? Are they current evaluations? Is that his eligibility? Are you sure that's his eligibility? Did you guys get the umbrella eligibility? You know what? He's in the pool. I don't know what that means. I don't get in the pool. That would mess up my outfit. There's no pool in special education. If a student has a disability or you think that there's a new disability, then you ask for new testing in that area. So once you have an SLD or once you're ADHD or once you have autism, we're not just kicking it. We want to make sure that those are current and they're appropriate eligibilities, right? Next, you want to get out your IEP progress reports. Email your IEP facilitator, your school district tomorrow, your county, your city, wherever you live in these great United States, and ask them for all of your IEP progress reports. Let's say it together. All of your IEP progress reports, and pull them out. You get out your IEP and look at them. There should have been IEP goals that were written that were pristine, precise, and prescriptive. Write that down. Your IEP goals should have been pristine, precise, and prescriptive. They're not. They're just not, right? So, but they should have had some criteria, right? In 36 instructional weeks after directing explicit instruction, Billy will at 70%, right? So if that was an annual IEP goal, we're finishing the year, let's say you're at 36 instructional weeks, then we're going to look at, did he make those percentages? And when you look at IEP progress reports, you got to dig in there, just dig in there, because you know what? I've had staff members, not you guys, say, oh, he met his goals. But actually, when you look at them and break down the entire criteria of each benchmark and each objective, didn't happen, right? So you want to make sure that those IEP goals were in fact met and that we're not just doing the same ones over again with just different language. You want to make sure that the present levels are accurate. Get out the students' current present levels, maybe get out last year's, maybe get out the year before, and see if that reading level is improved. See if those MAP scores have improved. Look at that NWEA. I don't know if that's basketball. Look at the STAR test, state testing, REN 360. Where is he? I had a kiddo the other day has read the same reading level for 3 years. 3 years. I got a kiddo the other day that is in Gen Ed 6th grade. She reads at a first grade level. She reads at a first grade level. And the diagnostician said to her, well, you're in junior high, and the only way you get extra help is come to tutoring. I can't make it up. It just, yeah. So she reads on a first grade level. They type that out. So go back and look at that data that it just is. You've got to respond to the data. Were they reading at a first grade level last year? And then this year, beginning, middle, end, right? The BOY, MOY, EOY. Beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year. Ask for those scores from your teachers as it relates to math, as it relates to reading. What are the words correct per minute? What are the students' words correct per minute? It doesn't really matter their reading fluency. It does. We know that reading fluency is the only bridge to comprehension. The average fifth grader reads 148 words per minute. So if your fifth grader is reading, 30 words per minute, that's a problem. And to not identify those problems, I can't work on mitigating the impact of your unique circumstances, right? So look at your PLAF. Is your PLAF puppy? I like big PLAFs and I cannot lie, right? So does the PLAF tell the student's disability impacts him across settings, right? So might be on the bus, 8 a.m. all the way to whatever p.m. you get out. When I get a present levels and it says math and reading and behavior, I'm like, oh, I guess he doesn't have science or social studies. Make sure that that present level is current. And even if you had your IEP meeting in January, email the teachers and ask them, where are his present levels right now as we exit the Titanic so that I can properly support him over the summer? What leveled book should I be getting him? Oh, we don't know. Well, I'm going to need to know that so I can support the school. The tutor's doing the same thing and grandma's doing the same thing. What is his reading level today? We're knocking on May. What's the reading level, right? Next, you want to make sure that you're looking at any unique things that have presented in the classroom, behaviors, right? IEP goals are many, right? Annual IEP goals are for extended school year. They're academic, they're behavioral, they're functional, they're communicative, they're emotional, psychological. So have new behaviors or needs presented? Has there been a shift in academics? I have a lot of kids that are, A/B honor roll, and then we get to that little Grand Canyon called third grade and they just tank, right? So make sure that we know that those IEP goals are still appropriate, especially for going into next year. We don't just leave them, right? If they're not appropriate, then we make adjustments. And remember, you can do a paper amendment for an IEP, meaning we don't have to physically convene the entire IEP committee on any issue except for eligibility or minutes. Any issue except for eligibility or minutes, okay? So, and I just want you to know, I did call the United States of America International Global Greatness today, and I found out that you can have a meeting outside the teacher planning period. I know. I found that out. So schools, stop throwing the teacher under the bus and say, oh, we can only meet during the planning period. Not true. We can meet during the day. Yeah, we can meet at midnight. I don't really care. So make sure that you get a meeting and get those things scheduled as we wrap up the end of the year. Okay. Are there any concerns from the teachers? Did you get a bunch of dojo? Did you get some text messages that Billy is just wearing the teacher out? He's wearing the peers out. Those are important components that we use to tighten up the IEP, right? Are the students' accommodations appropriate? Can we just park here for a second? Why on earth and heaven and all the places in between do you have 72 accommodations? Why do you have 30 accommodations? Why do you have 20 accommodations? You're kidding, right? An accommodation is something in an IEP that we know without this accommodation, the student will not make expected gains on an IEP goal. Well, and he might need it. He might need it is an emotion. Emotions have no place in an IEP meeting. We do accommodations based on need. And so were they used F&R frequently and routinely and effectively, right? That's what an accommodation is. Because I'm telling you, lean in, kids. If you have accommodations and they were just because we added it on, that's going to be a problem if I file a U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights federal complaint and you don't have that you've tracked in all 7 classes that we've implemented all 72 accommodations. I was in an IEP meeting the other day, literally the kid had 42 accommodations. I'm sorry, what? 42. Okay, so Miss Smith just does all 42 accommodations and she says, good morning. No, so if you don't need them, take them off, right? Next, is the student in their most appropriate setting? Of course, there is great misinformation or misunderstanding about LRE, least restrictive environment. Least restrictive environment is not a location, it's a consideration. Write that down. Least restrictive environment is not a location, it's a consideration. So the federal law says that we have to consider the student's least restrictive environment. It also says that we educate students to the maximum extent possible with their non-disabled peers with supports and strategies. But that's not always the best setting, the most appropriate setting for the student with a disability. And it's not always the best setting for the other students, right? So we look at across content areas, where is the best place for this student to make gains? In reading, in math, in science, in social studies. It's not a one and done. It might be life skills. It might be an adaptive behavior unit. It might be with some behavior support. It might be in special ed dyslexia. Like that could happen. It might be gen ed with accommodations. It might be gen ed with the para, gen ed with in-class support, gen ed with co-teacher. We would like that all the time, right? It might be in resource. And let me clear something up. The LRE is a continuum of services. So how many of you guys have been told that we don't do resource anymore? You just need to call me if that happens. We do resource. That's like saying we don't have parking at the school. So resource, it has to be implemented if that's the most appropriate setting. So make sure that you're getting the appropriate setting, and make sure that when somebody offers you a setting, they don't say stuff like, "Oh man, I mean, you can consider resource, but those kids are those are the what are the kids? They're all kids. There's not bad kids and good kids. There's just kids. There's plenty of shenanigans with the National Honor Society students, just like the special ed students. So don't fall into that trap, right? The schedule of services. Where are we providing your student special education time? I am so tired of seeing this. 2 days a week, they get special ed support. Wait, 3 days a week. Really? So they don't have a disability on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's just gone. That is a terrible model. It's cheap, it's selfish, and it's unacceptable. If a student has a disability, that's like saying you're in a wheelchair. And you know what? Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, you can use the ramp. The other 2 days, the stairs. No, we wouldn't do that. If you have a disability that impacts you to the level that you need IEP goals and related services and special education, specially designed instruction, then you need it daily until that we've intervened and we've given that direct intervention and those services, and we've mitigated the impact of the disability, and we don't need it anymore. We fade that. But stop telling parents that you're giving them support in special ed 2 days a week in a content area. Nope. Get that fixed every single time. I don't care if it's the model. I don't care if the district does it. It's inappropriate and it's discriminatory on every single level. It's like saying you can have your glasses a couple days a week. Well, that's the model here. It's the wrong model. Nowhere does it say that in IDEA or any of the state regs. I've read them, right? So make sure that you're also not over supporting your kiddo. I have had some kiddos that were, not a lot, but were over supported for a myriad of reasons. Sometimes the school's afraid of the parent. That's ridiculous. I'm not afraid of the parent. Again, that's emotions. We don't educate based on emotions. We don't make decisions based on emotions. We educate based on data. What does the data say? Because data is really loud if we lean in and listen to it, right? So, over supporting the student and, putting them in a little bassinet is not helpful either, right? You want to look at instructional and related services. Does your student have instructional and related services? Is it the appropriate amount? Do you know what the schedule of services page means? Do you know what the word integrated means? When your child has integrated, direct, and consult, can we just talk about that for a minute? Okay, we're going to talk about that for a minute. So legally, the word integrated means a combination of direct supports and consult support. However, it also legally means that 100% of that time could be just consult. And 100% of that time, theoretically, could be direct to the student. I love consult. That's fantastic. You are welcome to work with the staff members. That would be important because we're going to teach them generalization, maintenance, and fluency based on the student's disability and unique needs. However, the student is going to need some direct time. So when I get kiddos and they have, I said, I don't know what. No, right? Or they have more consult than direct. You're kidding, right? So what we've done is we've gone back and we've lumped all those services on top of the general ed teachers. Any general ed teacher or special ed teacher needs something else to do? I didn't think so, right? And we're doing that, and that's wrong. So make sure that you go back and look through that schedule of services page. Is this right? Make sure on that schedule of services you looked to see if annually at the annual IEP meeting, did we have a consideration for ESY extended school year, that we're going to extend the school year. Why? Because we know that 9-10 week gap is crucial for our kiddos. Some of our kiddos come back with the full Etch-a-Sketch, right? They're like, what's a cubby, right? What do you mean there were rules? And so we want to make sure that we're using all of those considerations appropriately, right? We want to look at our supplements. A lot of your kiddos have supplements. You don't even know what they mean, right? Your kiddo has a BIP, a BISP, an FBA, a UPS, an OPI. I'm just kidding. Those last two are not real. A PCS. Anybody know what a PCS is? Nope. Anybody know what an IHP is? Anybody know what a VI supplement with ECC is? Anybody know what the intervener is? Just a related service. Anybody know what DHH with ECC is? The medically fragile supplement, the transfer of rights. And so you want to make sure that all of your supplements are current and that you understand what they mean and their implications. When I see supplements and they're a hot mess, I don't like that. I don't like any hot messes as it relates to giving a child with a disability part of what they're supposed to have, because we're advocating for baseline. Yes, CL Lancy, you got it right. Personal care services, right? So we want to make sure that that's all in there. If your child has an IHP, an individualized healthcare plan, we want to make sure that's actually attached to the, teacher bundle, right? So you should know that your teacher does not get your entire IEP. I don't know who thought that up. That's a great idea. Right, to the teacher bundle. Almost always the individual healthcare plan is in the nurse's office. And that's great if the student spends the whole day in the nurse's office. Usually they don't. If they're spending the whole day in the nurse's office, we need to have a different conversation. So make sure that all that information is in there. Make sure that parents, if your kiddo is it takes medicine for any reason, we want to make sure that we have those correct dosages. Why? Because we want to know what's in said student's body, not to get into your business, but in case he's incapacitated and can't speak and maybe somebody from the ambulance shows up, I want to know what's in his little body, right? We don't ask parents if they've medicated their child. We don't ask parents if you could medicate them more. Don't do that, right? But we want to make sure that special education document does document the medicines the student takes and the medicines that are dispensed at school, right? The more we know, the more that we have the ability to choose to work together and know what the impact of the student's disability is. So their federal eligibilities and their medical diagnoses, right? So we're looking at both when we look at present levels, the student's federal eligibilities and their medical diagnosis. Why? Why do we want to capture both of them? Because some of those medical diagnoses end up rising to the level of being an educational eligibility in the future. And you educating a student who has autism and a medical diagnosis of ADHD is different than just educating a student that has an educational eligibility with autism. So you want to make sure that all of that's right. You want to make sure that the student is getting an IEP that's pristine, precise, and prescriptive. And so we love you guys. We are so thankful for all of you. We are going to do a ton more trainings over the summer. We're all crawling to the end of the year. We have the Online Academy, which is a coaching call. It is a solid hour of federal law training. It just is with workbook. And then we open it up. It's usually about 2 hours a week. And all of the past hundreds of hours of past classes and workbooks are on the Academy. It's $47 a month. You can avail yourself of that. We have in-person classes. We have in-person 2-day intensive. We have virtual intensives, and we have on-demand intensive. So next weekend is our next virtual. And so it's a 2-day intensive. We just go live on the Zoom, and we train people, and those cap out at 49 people a class. And so we would certainly want you to avail yourself of that. The training is ridiculously amazing, and it will change your life. We have content over all platforms, Special Education Academy on YouTube, tons of trainings there, because we want you to have the information that, unfortunately, for whatever reason, doesn't really matter why, the staff members have not been given access to meaningful training. I think that they're often given access to trainings, and I sit in them too, where I'm like, is it over yet? Right? It's just either so 1987 or has nothing to do with currently serving the kiddos in my classroom. So we want you guys to avail yourself of that. We also have digital products that are available, so that when you're doing your training at 2 a.m, like the rest of us, you can just press the button and learn. So we love you guys. Thanks. Yes. Thanks you guys for joining. I really want you to know how much we appreciate all of you. We're so thankful for all teachers and paraprofessionals and principals and admin. And there's just a few stinky apples in the barrel, but they have a tendency to ruin the whole barrel. So if there's anything that we can do to serve you, let us know. We do. I do in-person. I do teacher development all over the nation, and always have. And usually I try not to knock on my desk anymore so the dogs don't bark. But we want to serve you properly. We want to give you resources and make sure that you are getting what you need to serve your kiddos. And remember this, that when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody. And so that we can make sure that you guys have what you need. Somebody asked me the other day if the school has to provide them, doesn't the school by law have to give you a draft 10 days ahead of time? No. All the federal law says about the IEP is that the school is required to give the parent a copy of the IEP at no charge. That's all the federal law says about it. I know we like to add stuff to the federal law. And listen, I'm from Texas. We like to add stuff all the time. So you certainly want to be somebody that the school wants to partner with, and you certainly want to be someone that the parent wants to partner with, right? And that we provide that to them ahead of time, so they can prepare, right? We all want to prepare. Most of my parents are pretty reasonable. If they're not reasonable, I just release them back into the wild, right? So let's partner together so we can serve the kiddos together. There's not two sides of the table. There's just one side of the table. We're all on the side of the kiddo with disabilities so they can be successful adults. When we get it right for the child, and we do that all the time, we get it right for everybody. If there's a specific training that you would like for us to put up on the YouTube or a TikTok live, just let us know. You can email us at admin@specialeducationacademy.com. If you have questions about the training, you can email us at admin@specialeducation.com. If you have questions about, what color lipstick this is, just email us at admin@specialeducationacademy.com. Thanks, you guys. We love you. And we will see you guys in the next training.